Blackpink was the first K-pop girl group to perform at Coachella in 2019 and the first girl group to be named to Forbes Asia's 30 Under 30 list. This year, 2020, the launch of Blackpink's Twitter account with the song How You Like That led 5 million tweets in 12 hours. Blackpink currently has almost 21.8 million monthly listeners on Spotify, with their song Kill This Love streamed 413 million times. Their song How You Like That, which was released in the middle of the pandemic, comes in second with 312 million streams so far. The highly anticipated track debuted at number 1 on iTunes in more than 60 countries, the most for any song by a girl group, breaking a record Blackpink set last May with their Lady Gaga collaboration, Sour Candy. Blackpink's latest single also set the record for the biggest girl group debut in Spotify history, another record they recently set with Sour Candy. In terms of overall single-day streams, however, Sour Candy still takes the lead, earning a whopping 6.225 million global streams in its second day of release. In the Philippines, a group of YouTube millionaire influencers have steadily grown their following and their income in the time of the pandemic. This group is called Team Payaman, led by Kong TV, who has a personal subscriber base of 7.3 million to date. The Team Payaman group commands roughly 15 million subscribers among them. Brand sponsorships might have quieted down this year for Team Payaman, but their YouTube earnings have skyrocketed mainly due to onboarding more viewers and subscribers during the lockdowns. Of course, these mega social influencers might have been riding the crisis well, but could it have been better? What do you think? How has the pandemic affected influencer marketing campaigns? In March and April, there was a significant slowdown of investments in partnerships across the board, with some sectors being hit harder than others. In May and June, we saw partnerships begin to go back online though, again at different paces depending on the industry and geography. We noticed that the partnerships looked different than they did pre-pandemic times. In terms of content, what changed? Well, influencers and brands started to shift their communication toward brand values and away from the product. It is difficult to push merchandise in this economy, right? So the crisis moved the market towards relationship-based influencer marketing rather than transaction-based. We've also seen brands significantly loosen their control over content, giving influencers more leeway on the messaging. Given this shift, how are advertisers measuring the success of influencer campaigns? Well, when it comes to measuring success, there are two ends of the spectrum: brand purpose and brand values on one end, and an extreme focus on e-commerce and performance metrics on the other. The answer is probably somewhere in between. If you're trying to measure the impact of an influencer campaign, you cannot just look at the direct sales that come from your affiliate, because they make up a very small chunk of the attribution. You need to look at metrics around engagement and then track it downstream to see if it generates any leads. It's not a one-size-fits-all, and rebuilding the chain is really important. You have to look at your metrics, adjust day by day if needed. So what industries didn't invest heavily on influencer marketing during the pre-pandemic but are now investing? The one industry that we've probably seen to turn to influencer marketing in the past 6 months or so is the consumer packaged goods, or CPG. It's not that CPG companies weren't doing influencer marketing before, but it had been a slideshow type. Now, it's become part of their core strategy, and we're talking about companies and brands that write larger checks than anybody. Take note that many restaurant chains have been packaging their food specialties or retail groceries or deliver them through online ordering these days. The likes of Kuya J's, Shakey's, and even Rico's Lechon have done this. For a while, you've seen products from Jollibee and Chowking were made available in Shell Select, while McDonald's sold their chicken nuggets in bulk to their drive-thru outlets. We still have to see these guys using influencers to push their products on groceries though. Gaming in the global space is another vertical that really has been seeing a large increase in influencer spending. With people staying at home, these companies have been overwhelmed with demand. Social influencers like Kong TV and Alodia have been two of the most sought after personalities in this area. Many more gamers categorized as micro-influencers have risen as well. They have been getting fat paychecks from esports corporate sponsors from this year and probably till next year. Today, influencer marketing has become a core strategy of the gaming industry. Now, let's look at the 4 global trends that show how influencer marketing has evolved and what are they doing to grow in 2020. The start of the COVID-19 pandemic resulted in a downturn for influencer marketing as brands and agencies suspended campaigns and sponsorship deals. In fact, my company Media Blast Digital got a huge cancellation for 2 big travel-related projects that involved local and international influencers that were supposed to be shot on various locations in the Philippines and abroad. The continued economic uncertainty is likely to bring new challenges, but the influencer marketing industry has so far been adapting well as the year has progressed, and many brands are now beginning to come back to the table and spend whatever their remaining budget allows. According to a recent report by Takumi, in the 12 months to August 2020, 73% of surveyed marketers allocated more resources to influencer marketing, with spend particularly increasing in the 3 areas of retail, that's 79%, legal 79%, and manufacturing at 75%. So, what significant changes have occurred in the world of influencer marketing in spite of the coronavirus crisis? And how have brands and influencers adapted? First, influencers and the industries they are connected to have been finding alternative revenue streams. A number of music artists who are influencers themselves have suffered the most, along with those in the events, travel, restaurant, and food service industries. Influencers covering these circuits have suffered quietly, but the resiliency in Filipinos have allowed them to shift or adapt. Travel bans and social distancing led to the cancellation of major events, and that happened in the latter part of March, which in the Philippines is the kick-off to summer. Not to mention disruption to the daily working lives of influencers who usually peaked during this time. Brands and influencers were quick to react, however, shifting to at-home photo shoots and pivoting to more relevant content related to the home, such as comfortable fashion, home improvement, and self-care. Many food bloggers have shifted to learning and showing off cooking and baking skills at home, and others added food deliveries to their ventures. One of my good friends in the event management industry has shifted to online events management and added a trading company to her portfolio. Another friend who is in the wedding management business downsized their operations and adapted to digital services and arts tutorials as part of their services. With social media usage increasing during the lockdown, engagement on sponsored posts during this time actually went up, as based on the research carried out by Shareably suggests that interactions with sponsored posts reached 57 million in July, nearly 5 times the amount from March 2020. However, influencer partnerships typically involve far more than sponsored content, such as in-person appearances at events, and many influencers have therefore turned to alternative revenue streams in order to fill the gap. One of these areas is merchandise, which usually comes in the form of apparel, such as t-shirts, hoodies, and caps or hats. Fanjoy, a company that enables social creators to sell merchandise online, has recently partnered with Mad Engine to manufacture its products for distribution to physical stores. Mad Engine CEO Danish Guy Jani said in a statement that they are confident that they can take what FanJoy has accomplished and translate it into huge buzz at retail, allowing fans to interact with these social media giants instantaneously, creating more foot traffic at retail and also growing the creators' individual brands. Teespring, another company that specializes in influencer merchandising, is rolling out digital merchandise for YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok creators. While this is nothing new, we've seen already influencers create digital merchandise in the form of personalized emojis and keyboards. These partnerships will allow influencers to directly sell the merchandise via TikTok itself, which may be a first. Until now, there's been no way for influencers to monetize content on TikTok other than brand sponsorship. This is unlike YouTube, where Google AdSense allow creators like Team Payaman to take a percentage of a video's advertising revenue. For brands, this could provide greater opportunity and scope for influencer partnerships, with brands able to capitalize on the involvement and creativity of influencers for both physical and digital products. Brands are also tapping into organic social activity on new platforms like TikTok. TikTok has grown at a record rate during lockdown, reaching 2 billion downloads in the second quarter of 2020. In the Philippines and the world, a new pool of influencers have emerged as a result, opening up new opportunities for brand deals across various age segments. This means that TikTok has once again offered an alternative social platform among new and old influencers that includes not-so-young influencers even in their 50s and 60s. Well, we'll talk about TikTok separately later as we take a look at social platforms that will grow and decline. There will be a shift away from sales-driven campaigns towards social good. This year, brands have also started to recognize that influencers can also be credible communicators rather than just being a vehicle to promote sales, as overall trust in creators has appeared to improve. According to Takumi's research, 25% of consumers are more likely to source news updates and opinions from influencers than journalists and established news outlets. At the same time, 58% of 16 to 24-year-olds and 56% of 25 to 34-year-olds agree that social media influencers should use their platform to discuss current affairs, everyday activism, and other advocacies. Last weekend, me and my wife held an online workshop on the power of content for the first Catholic Creative Conference. As influencers, relationship mentors, and advocates of Christian family values, we were given a chance to share the core of our communication strategies. Our Facebook page, He Said, She Said Philippines, was awarded the Venerable Fulton Sheen Award in 2018 for Outstanding Online Communications Program for Catholic and Christian Evangelization. Many influencers have also been tapped by various causes to push their advocacies and counter-advocacies. The push and pull of messaging for and against the closing of ABS-CBN is one perfect example of how influencers of varying degrees and from different parties that have flooded social media with their opinions. The alleged body-shaming issue of Kapamilya star Angel Locsin was in fact a pivot into social issue coming out of the ABS-CBN matter. This in fact has led to the fourth global trend that shows how influencer marketing has evolved in 2020. And it's called the influencer and follower dynamic. Through the pandemic, there's been a connection between influencers and followers that is closer than before because everyone is struggling with the same issues. That's not being able to see family, anxiety about getting sick, homeschooling, new schedules, home dynamics, and more. Many social media followers were able to see that their idols are people who experience and feel things like they do, that influencers are the real deal. When 3 consecutive typhoons devastated Luzon in October and November 2020, influencers took to their social media platforms to raise funds and send donations to typhoon victims. In fact, some influencers were victims themselves. Still, they found the time and the strength to give whatever they could. The band A4A, for example, who's being helped by Yo of Team Payaman, recently joined the Tulay Philippines donation drive with their home-based performances while being locked down in their own apartment in Cavite. Other artists did the same. Their fans and followers were simply amazed. It seems that the pandemic has strengthened the bond between influencers and their followers, and most likely, followers will want to maintain this strengthened bond post-pandemic. What have you learned so far? Let's do a recap.